Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're venturing into alchemy,
Mm-hmm.
but probably not the version you're picturing, with cartoons and bubbling potions.
Right. It's much deeper than that.
Yeah, our listeners shared this amazing collection of sources, old writings, mysterious treatises, philosophical discussions,
We're real miss.
and they show alchemy as something way richer. A search for, profound wisdom, inner and outer change, and this belief in how deeply everything connects.
Absolutely.
So our mission here is to unpack these core ideas, look past the stereotypes, and, discover what these sources suggest alchemy was really aiming for.
And when you dive into this material, it really does move beyond just trying to make gold.
Mm-hmm.
You find this much broader vision, alchemy tied up with philosophy, spirituality, a real respect for nature's hidden workings.
Okay, so let's start with a figure who seems pretty central. Hermes Trismegistus.
Ah, yes, Hermes, thrice great.
The sources paint him as this incredibly wise figure, someone who really got nature's secrets, like an ancient sage, basically.
What's fascinating is he's credited with finding this quintessential perfectibility, as one source puts it.
Perfectibility.
Yeah, within the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms, this idea of a core unity linking them all. Think about that. A rock, a plant, an animal, all sharing some fundamental essence deep down.
Wow.
And while loads of books attributed to him are lost, sadly,
Yeah, that's a shame.
we still have key texts like the Asclepian Dialogues, the Divine Poemander, and the Tractatus Aureus, the Golden Treatise. They give us real insights into the, theosophic and alchemical principles tied to him.
And maybe the most famous bit is the Smaragdine table, the Emerald Tablet.
Definitely the most famous. It's described as super short, really enigmatic, but believed to hold the absolute core of the art.
The heart of it all.
Exactly. Sources mention Kircher's Latin translation from Arabic and Greek copies, and its core idea is just so resonant. That which is above is as that which is below.
That's the one everyone quotes.
It is. And this concept of correspondence, the macrocosm and microcosm mirroring each other, it's completely fundamental to alchemical thought, like the patterns in the cosmos. They're reflected right here in you.
It's almost like this tiny tablet is the last key, unlocking this huge, profound, sacred art from ancient Egypt.
It does feel a bit like that.
Kind of sad thinking about all that power, wealth, wisdom, even magic, just gone, leaving fragments and mysterious hieroglyphs.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Were the stories of Egypt's greatness just myths? Or do those massive structures, the pyramids, the temples, do they hint at a lost, maybe more advanced intelligence?
You hear about Pythagoras, Thales, Democritus, Plato, all supposedly spending years in Egypt to learn.
Right, suggests deep respect for what they had achieved intellectually and spiritually.
And it's a sobering thought, that cycle. Civilizations rising and falling. Egypt is shown as this potent example, a society that lost its wisdom, kind of by self-abuse, ignoring its own roles.
Yeah, Asclepius' text even has that really grim prophecy.
Yeah, about future Egypt, where myths replace religion, and the truly religious are considered, insane.
It's a stark warning. Makes you think how fragile knowledge can be. It's not automatic. It can be lost if neglected, if standards slip.
So, moving on, the sources show these different sides to alchemy. You get the practical reputation of someone like Rosses.
Right, apparently doing public transmutations, showing off maybe.
Could be. And then you have the more theoretical, philosophical stuff in other writings. Even someone like Roger Bacon, known for being pretty scientific, supposedly mentions Rosses.
That duality is key. Alchemy wasn't just one thing. There was this hands-on work with materials, trying to understand and change them. But it was often deeply connected to these bigger philosophical and spiritual questions. The story of Morianus seeking out the sage Adfar.
Right, the mentorship theme.
Exactly. It shows the dedication, the intense study involved. And his talks with King Khaled, who even wrote about alchemy himself, show it had this intellectual, sometimes even royal, backing.
It's interesting how widespread the fascination was. There's that poem listing everyone from clergy and kings down to, common workers.
Yeah, all interested in this noble craft.
But then the warning comes. It's not for the nice and lewd. Requires profound philosophy.
That really hits home. It wasn't a casual hobby. It demanded serious thought, maybe even a certain moral grounding. The warning implies it could be misused by people without the right depth.
We even get this really personal, kind of downbeat account. So it's spending a lot of money.
Oh yeah, experimenting with everything.
Spirits, ferments, salts, metals, even eggshells and oil.
And getting absolutely nowhere.
It really shows how challenging, how frustrating it can be.
That first-hand story really underscores the failures, especially if you just jumped in without grasping the principles, the deeper stuff the texts emphasize. It's a good reminder not to just chase the material results.
Which brings us nicely to belief and reason in all this. The sources touch on how hard it is to just dismiss credible accounts when something seems possible, even without immediate proof.
Right, the possibility factor.
It mentions that even figures like Lord Bacon, Sir Isaac Newton, they acknowledge the possibility of the Philosopher's Stone, even if they didn't achieve it themselves.
Which shows a certain open-mindedness. Right. Dissolve the fixed, make the volatile fly, and fix the volatile.
And you'll live safely. Sounds like a process.
It's absolutely central, a kind of cycle of transformation. Solve, break down the stable stuff. Faciesque valere solutum, free its essential nature. Et evocrum figes, bring it back together, but perfected.
Solve, coagula, fige, dissolve, coagulate, fix. That's the short version.
That captures the essence of the operation.
And the idea seems to be that imperfections aren't natural. They're like accidental additions.
Exactly, like water picking up the color and taste of its surroundings. The potential for perfection is inherent. You just need to strip away the accidents, the flaws.
Arnold even says, understand how to convert elements, make light things heavy, turn spirit into something solid.
Which points to a really deep knowledge of matter's basic principles and how to manipulate them. It's about revealing nature's inherent purity.
Then there's the mercurial quintessence.
Ah, the fifth essence.
Supposedly able to produce effects without external mixing, unlike the basic pure matter.
Right. And then the three big principles: salt, sulfur, and mercury, but a special kind of mercury.
Mercury of the adepts.
Yes. Described as agent, patient, and offspring, like a dynamic interplay, a creation process.
So not just regular quicksilver then?
Definitely not. It represents a refined, maybe spiritual essence, a unifying force in the whole process. Salt, sulfur, mercury, they're fundamental to how alchemists saw matter's makeup and interactions.
And then this idea of a formal light.
Producing gold and minerals.
The elixir of the wise in plants.
And this mystery of universal being in animals, all leading up to humanity.
The core idea being one basic material, but diverse forms.
Yeah.
And humanity has this divine spark, this potential for transcendence.
It paints this picture of a single underlying reality manifesting differently, with humanity holding a special place due to that spiritual potential. The alchemical work kind of mirrors this cosmic process of refinement.
Okay, let's look at the golden treatise of Hermes Trismegistus.
Yep.
Claims divine inspiration, apparently.
Yes, that's the claim.
It talks about ferment being crucial. Whitening the mix, stopping combustion, holding the tincture, joining bodies.
The key of the philosophers.
Sounds vital.
It acts like a catalyst, really, an essential element to stabilize the process, allowing different substances physically and maybe symbolically to properly unite.
But there's a warning, right? That the whole thing can go wrong. Negligence, false ideas, like bad yeast spoiling bread.
Exactly. And then you get those symbols, the vulture, the crow.
Representing different states of this quintessential spirit, Proteus.
Right. Blackness meaning decay, putrefaction.
And light signifying rebirth, purity.
And it flies without wings, carried by the fixed, stable spirit, powerful imagery.
Definitely. It suggests a spiritual movement guided by this unchanging core.
These symbols are packed with meaning about the stages: breakdown, purification, then renewal and refinement.
And here's a fascinating point. You can't do the Hermetic artifice alone.
Collaboration is key.
Friendship, gratitude, reciprocity are essential. Arnold's quote, "There may no man Mercury mortify, but it be with his brother's knowledging." Link back to Hermes.
That's significant, isn't it? It wasn't some isolated pursuit. Often it was a community, people supporting and learning from each other.
The Golden Treatise also hints at spirit manifesting in nature, calling the hidden luminous principle sulfur. And it divides matter into 4 parts, comparing its composition to a hen's egg, minus catholicity, whatever that means here.
Yes. Just further attempts to categorize and understand the basics. The egg is a relatable image for something complex, yet unified.
Now this vulgar matter, the raw stuff,
The Prima Materia.
highly prized by philosophers when pure, but seen as defiled, worthless by most people.
Hidden in plain sight, you could say.
Most folks unaware it exists or how to handle it. Hermes and Moses supposedly gave veiled instructions.
This vulgar matter holds the potential. Its low value in the common view just shows a lack of understanding of its true nature, its hidden possibilities. The veiled instructions suggest you need a deeper, more intuitive grasp.
Which leads to self-investigation being key.
Absolutely.
To understand the reality spoken of by those with direct experience of life, with a capital L. It connects to man being made from the dust of the earth, this arising pure essence.
Understanding the processes of change within yourself is seen as crucial for understanding them in the outer world. It's that inner dimension again.
The Philosopher's Stone is symbolized as bow tree, a cluster,
Right.
and the red root as terra adamica or magnesia after purification. Even the names are symbolic clues.
They offer metaphorical hints to its nature and origin.
And the idea that nature's own drive must die to evolve its universal aspect.
Undergo suffering to increase perfection.
We get that analogy from Democritus, like a recipe for turning brass to gold with heat and salts, likened to Paris choosing Venus.
A great image of transformation.
And a modern experimenter sees it as the masculine essence rising from death to unite with the pure feminine spirit, the great arcanum of the world.
These analogies really hit home the alchemical process. Break down, then recombine in a purified, perfected way. Death and rebirth are central themes, a fundamental change.
Shifting gears slightly, the sources say alchemy helps with an artificial dissolution of the vital bond.
To develop nature's causal principle into reminiscence, recreate life experience. Contrasted with modern philosophy.
And the gold of the philosophers, the living gold, it's not dead metal.
No, it's described as this luminous concrete, active. It fructifies, perfects things, like the sun's influence.
That elevates it way beyond just material wealth. It becomes a symbol of a perfected state, able to influence and improve other things, vital, life-giving.
Exactly.
There's this strong belief, too, that humanity is reformed by God into his image.
And that self-knowledge leads to knowing all things.
God, the world, the interconnectedness.
And through that understanding, you can draw things to you. It's a very holistic viewpoint.
Linking alchemy to this broader spiritual framework. The quest for alchemical knowledge becomes a path to self-realization, understanding the divine order.
Right. And the process of working with this vital spirit
involves repeated dissolutions and unions, making it stronger each time.
More resilient, yeah. Giving it a magnetical virtue that draws divine increase. Art plays a role too, adding a kind of supernatural light to its natural glow.
Leading to it being called the terrestrial or microcosmic sun.
Like amplifying nature's own power, a concentrated source of energy within the alchemical substance.
Basil Valentine talks about the true tincture of antimony.
Extracted from the true mineral, not the crude stuff.
And that extraction is a key secret, bringing health, riches, honor.
And then that cryptic saying,
Lapis noster inter duos, meticulos nascitur. Our stone is born between two small mountains.
In te et in me et in nostri similibus latet. It lies hidden in you, and in me, and in those like us.
Wow. That really points inward, doesn't it?
Beautifully captures it. The key isn't just out there in substances, but in here, within us, connected to our own being, our shared humanity.
Bohm suggests that when the mechanics of the three principles are truly understood,
true physicians of body and soul will emerge.
But there's a seal of God hiding the true ground to prevent misuse.
Highlighting the ethics, this powerful knowledge needs the right intention, deep respect. The seal implies divine protection.
Emphasizing trust and the paradoxical nature of the work, simple yet profoundly wise.
Exactly, protected for a reason.
It's striking how often the sources contrast misleading books on external magic with alchemy's real focus.
Which is?
An internal experimental search within oneself for perfection.
That quote really drives it home. Quid mirum nocere mundum si possunt homines, quibus estet mundus inipsis.
What wonder to know the world if humans can, in whom the world also is.
Exemplimque de quisque est in imagine parva, and each is an example of God in a small image.
That totally shifts the focus inward. Alchemy becomes less about external manipulation, more about understanding and transforming yourself. The microcosm mirroring the macrocosm. The key to universal knowledge lies within.
Definitely changes your perspective.
Then the sources critique these superficial takes on ancient mysteries, political fraud, astronomy, agriculture.
Arguing they missed the main point, the discovery of wisdom.
Initiation, like the Eleusinian rites, was seen as a way to get this ontological wisdom, leading to a life of reason, virtue, hope for a blessed afterlife.
Cicero called them initia, the beginnings of such a life. Links alchemy to these ancient traditions, a shared goal of enlightenment.
And the big requirement, after purification.
The will conceiving a purely rational motive.
To overcome temptations, follow the path to wisdom. Like you have to cleanse yourself first, be ready for the deeper knowledge.
Absolutely. True understanding needs a disciplined will, commitment to overcoming the lower parts of our nature, an inner journey of refinement mirroring the outer work.
We then get Lully describing chaotic forms as first principles.
Not logical in themselves, but containing the seed of spirit once purified.
Described as heavy, shining, full of eyes.
Vaughan calls its father an unbreakable mass, like the rock in the wilderness.
And Plato compares the viscous soul, the divine spark, to a deformed sea god, Glaucus, covered in earthly muck.
Vivid metaphors, painting pictures of the unrefined essence chaotic, yet holding potential brilliance. Purification reveals the seed, earthly attachments cause damage, highlights the work needed.
The Epidaurian mysteries get a mention too, if it's lawful to tell.
That experience of approaching death, traversing elements, seeing the sun at midnight, drawing near the gods.
Sounds incredibly intense, transformative.
The initiated experienced blessed visions, resident in a pure light. Not illusions, but connection to divine essence, intellectual perfection.
The Rugic writes, using the passive ether, awakened intellect, adorned it with light. Wisdom as the guide.
Suggests the mysteries offer profound transformations, direct perception of higher realities, connection to the divine. Aligns with the alchemical goal of inner illumination.
This leads to the idea of the urgic union with the One.
Not just through reason, but through a self-oblivious amplitude of conception, forgetting yourself in the vastness.
Plotinus describes the One arriving suddenly, everything diaphanous, light meeting light in intrinsic understanding, harmonious motion, unity of thought, understanding, the understood intellect itself.
A mystical experience beyond ordinary reason. Direct apprehension of unity with the source.
Which is why the mysteries forbade telling the uninitiated. Too dangerous for unprepared souls, the masses wouldn't get it.
The secrecy was likely to protect profound truths from being misunderstood or disrespected. They needed to be ready. The original pure institution aimed at noble ends.
The image of a neglected garden, overgrown weeds, that represents the difficulty of finding wisdom's riches within.
Those living waters of paradise.
Job's passage about hidden paths to silver, gold, wisdom, emphasizing God knows the way and fear of the Lord is wisdom.
Resonates with that inner exploration theme. The garden is our uncultivated self, where wisdom hides. Job connects understanding to reverence for the divine.
Contemplation leading to understanding is celestial. Needs spiritual reason to see how nature can be perfected from within. Natural reason is just an iron key, limited, needed to unlock the golden treasury of light inside.
But it's the spiritual intellect, once awakened, that analyzes and transforms inner life. Different levels of understanding.
Right. Distinguishing ordinary reason from this higher spiritual intellect needed for deeper truths and inner transformation.
The sources show how folly, fantasy, passion, reason, they're all modes of the one thing.
And reason can gather them all into its higher essence and light, referencing Lully, Arnold, Bacon, Geber.
Arguing for the physical efficacy of this reason. Look at how it analyzes opinions, governs passions, discerns truth, using universal evidence which subsists by faith as a measure.
Comparing the natural sun purifying matter
To the intellectual sun, supernatural reason, separating false forms, assimilating lower life, perfecting us.
And that powerful bit from Anaxagoras about intellect. Infinite, self-ruled, unmixed, knowing all, ordering all.
Really emphasizes reason's power, especially that refined intellectual sun. Reason to bring order and clarity internally, just as the physical sun does externally. Anaxagoras sees intellect as this fundamental ordering force.
Then there's the need to prepare both the spiritual agent and the spiritual patient.
Back to the Smaragdine table. As above, so below.
Unlike natures shouldn't be joined, equal spirits ally for betterment, moving from corporeal to spiritual extremes.
Reiterates inner preparation and correspondence.
The process is described as a death and contrition of agent and patient,
Leading to a new life. Quintessence Mercury elixir.
which, with divine light, becomes the living gold of the philosophers.
A radical transformation, body and spirit, to a perfected state, the living gold.
The metaphysical body of gold becomes profitable by joining a related spirit, circulating them until conception.
Then Agrippa's instruction, pingi duos angs, paint two serpents.
Followed by that whole allegory. Tide, fired, toad, dragon,
Vehement poison.
then a swan, finally the phoenix. fed by its father's fire and mother's ether.
Linking to the Kabbalistic command, unite the end to the beginning.
So much symbolism. The serpents, their changes, likely symbolizing opposing forces, reconciling into a higher perfected form, culminating in the phoenix's regenerative power.
And the intermediate stages, abyssal regeneration.
A contest of the metaphysical embryo. A greatest poison, opposing wills creating fierce fire. Green lion, typhon, fire drake.
Mortifying the foreign body of light, Osiris.
And Synovosius' allegory. Salt and sulfur fighting, producing white milk, a great river. Intense stuff.
Vivid, violent metaphors depicting the inner struggle, the purification. Destructive yet necessary breakdown to make way for the new.
The self-willed agent gets subdued by the attractive grace of the connate spirit.
Like conscience moving the contrite.
Mentioning the eclipse of Sol, the key role of lunar Vulcan Isis or Athena, representing self-motion, intelligence.
And then detailed instructions. Drying, imbibition, feeding with lion's sweat.
Sealing the glass, applying heat over specific times. Sounds precise, delicate.
Still symbolic language, but hinting at a carefully controlled procedure. The interplay of Sol and lunar Vulcan suggests different energetic principles at work.
We get those poetic bits, too. The crystal fountain washing the noble king.
Transformation.
Jemeju bringing forth perfect gold.
Renewal.
And Saturn hiding an immortal soul, revealed as shining vapor, the moon or firmament, when its fetters are untied.
Beautiful allegories illustrating purification, renewal, liberating the inner, refined essence from its coarse bonds.
The first matter of the adepts, generated by an emancipation of the fontal source.
Diana, or refulgent light, the wholeness of fundamental nature.
Helvetius talks about its splendor, unforgettable beauty, found with great Jehovah saturninely placed in the center of the world.
Within which the art's wonders are disclosed, including myths like the salamander, river Numicius, Pactolus.
Sounds like a vision of ultimate reality. This first matter, the Prima Materia, the source of all, its radiance, connection to the divine underscores its importance. The myths are more symbolic representations of its power.
Sendivogius calls the water of our sea the water of life, white as snow.
Not common water, but a universally subsisting unctuous mineral vapor.
Linked to the stone known and proven in the Book of Life.
Connected to the mysteries, the initial vision in demoniacal forms, only truly known when the eye of mind meets its first source.
Hinting we are such stuff as dreams are made on.
But discovering this isn't a dream. It's merging fantastic desire into intellectual contact with the thing itself, our identity.
The Hermetic material, celebrated by disciples, recommended by Orpheus. The power of Chiron, Silenus.
This water of life, another key concept, a vital spiritual essence. Its link to the Book of Life, meeting our first source, suggests a journey of self-discovery, realizing our true divine nature.
Then Roycelin. Nihilist in Principio Nisi Sapientia.
Nothing is in the beginning but wisdom.
Connected to the three persons in divinity, and the Kabbalistic ain't nothing, as far as we grasp in the abyss of darkness.
Which becomes light, LF, when manifestation occurs.
Linking alchemy to profound mystical ideas about the origin of everything, emphasizing wisdom as the fundamental principle.
Creation is God making something from nothing, resulting in the one thing.
Our identity and regeneration, the first divine manifestation from the abyss.
This celestial light contains a water-like substance or tincture, burns like oil.
Source of the material world, gives power to grow, found in all metals, stones, causing silver and gold to grow.
Paradoxical.
Yeah.
Hidden yet manifest, virgin yet impregnating all.
And Boehme's personal account, that profound awakening.
Seeing the being of beings, the Trinity, the world's origin, all three world within himself.
Knowledge gained not from books, but inner revelation, a powerful testimony to direct spiritual experience, highlighting the possibility of direct insight into these fundamental truths.
Aristotle's philosophy, though critical of others, is seen as aiming for the same truth, just a different method.
Concerned with contradictions in language, seeking harmony and expressing agreed truth, criticizing earlier folks for not being clear.
And the ancient use of numbers, gods derived from them, held different meanings than modern theorems.
Pythagoras' hecatomb, Thales' similar act, interpreted not as vanity,
but symbolic of discovering a miraculous psychical quintessence, the tincture, involving sacrificing the old nature for renewal.
Suggests deeper meanings in ancient practices, places alchemy in that historical context of philosophical inquiry, different approaches seeking common understanding.
The ancient declaration, Natural life is a diminution of existence.
Because the mind struggles to grasp true being through ordinary thought.
Proclus says we need to assimilate to the one principle, raise ourselves to its flower.
And Plotinus, describing that experience, roused from the body into intellectual energy, becoming one with divine nature, transcendent energy, then questioning the link back to the body.
The soul's twofold nature, intelligible and sensible, able to rise, learn from its fallen state, appreciate the superior world through contrast.
Reflects that Neoplatonic influence, emphasizing sensory limits, the need for spiritual ascent to grasp true reality, our connection to the divine source.
The threefold secret of the art: attraction, repulsion, circulation, needs care, diligence for perfect equilibrium.
Kuhnroth says, seek 3 in 1, 1 in 3, dissolve and congeal. But the animated spirit can't just rejoin the unregenerated body.
The unfolding of the new chaos of the universal nature after proper separation removes original sin through the fire of divine love, regeneration of body, soul, spirit.
A profound, complete transformation. Detailing the process, the dynamic interplay of forces, the need for renewal on all levels.
And then the union supersentient, the marriage of mentis et universi, mind and universe.
Solitary thought unites with the simple understanding of its ether, powerful subsistence.
Prefigured in ancient marriages, Peleus and Thetis, Bacchus and Ariadne, Jason and Medea.
The adept's cry, the bridegroom crowning the bride in the north, symbolizing light arising from the crucifixion of the cerebral life, occultation of the sensual dominant in the divine fiat.
Sounds like the ultimate integration, the mystical union, the final goal, consciousness integrated with the universal mind. Enlightenment, power.
Solve et coagula again. Generation follows putrefaction, due to the incombustible sulfur acting on the quicksilver.
Occurring within one vessel, the earthly vessel, our gross body, using a heavenly fire to excite the elemental one. No physical tools, no common heat.
Light manifests in great darkness, contrition of sensible nature. Where the power of Christ arises, says Bohm.
The noble tincture arises from anguish into meekness of light, attracting light's virtue to become water-desiring tincture.
Both forms, red fire sulfur and thin meekness water, contracting into blood.
The fire in the blood is life. From its warmth proceeds the thin water of life, the true spirit born of the soul, containing God's image, divine wisdom, capable of uniting with God through self-resignation.
A detailed allegorical description, light and darkness interplay, transformative power of inner struggle, emergence of the purified spiritual essence ready for divine union.
Roger Bacon says attaining immortal essentiality is impossible without being sanctified in mind, purified in soul, to unite with God.
Understanding these instructions leads to knowing the work's beginning, middle, end. A subtlety of wisdom, purity of matter that satisfies the soul, opens the gates of divine treasure.
And the Egyptian figure of chaos, ancient, moved by Erebus's breath, bringing forth Hyle, first matter, and Eros, chief immortal,
who produced infinite offspring before the visible universe.
Connecting alchemical goals with spiritual purification and the very origins of creation, underscoring the prerequisites and ultimate aims.
Faith is stressed as foundational, not blind credulity, but a liberty of thought.
To conceive the wonderful nature, pursue experimental inquiry. Genuine faith, even small, can lead to the hoped-for thing, reveal the occult causality of nature.
Whether for gold, science, health, or wisdom.
The law of will in higher states is motion from its own center, evolving a substance that's the universal lodestone of existence.
This efflux is chaotic, needs an external mind to become creative, immortalized under its law.
The work's aim, reverse the natural order, raise humanity from lowest life through the medial to the divine, cautioning against aspiring too high too soon.
The paradox, what's nothing to fools becomes all to a philosopher, through willing intention.
Mind speech into pure ether creates qualities, specificities, differentiating mundane ether, false forms, from pure ether, linked to supersensual life.
True body is will, the principle of the body, salt.
Beeman's doctrines. The absolute will goes from non-being into manifestation, expressions of conscious experience of the creative mystery.
The divine light essence of gold is hidden in the self-begotten life, which often appropriates it instead of serving the divine life.
The mineral soul seen through introspection. A dark, formless vapor. The Augean stable needs great labor to cleanse.
Saturn's self-willed life only overcome by satiation with the honey of the bees, the orific seed, rational light.
Highlighting intention's power, the need for inner purification, and that active, inquisitive faith.
Then there's experiential knowledge. The true adept's knowledge multiplies life into the absolute fountain of being, beyond theory.
Different levels mentioned: theoretical medial sphere, paradoxical inference.
Salt is the voluntary substance bound in lowest generative life. Needs translation to the medial life to become light, cause contrition in the surrounding spirit.
The phoenix arises from the ashes of the present sensuous spirit.
The war in the work. Self-will versus universal will. The latter destroys and reproduces faculties in transmuted form.
Solar tincture is horrific light. The physical problem: make the invisible spirit visible through hypostatic multiplication of its image.
Inner principles evolve outwardly, but can be deviated by individual life's obstructive movements.
Kirchberger, falling to St. Martin. There is no true government but a theocracy, implying inner alignment.
Emphasizing direct experience, inner alignment over mere theory. The phoenix, the inner war, illustrating radical change.
The outward Bible compared to the inner, letter to spirit, historical to ontological.
St. Paul, the letter killeth, the law being too powerful for the unregenerated spirit.
Essential light of reason entering the chaos of the vital spirit initially forms vivid images. Sustained intellectual scrutiny dissolves them.
The light then seeks the paternal life through maternal instinct doves of Venus, gaining strength for more warfare.
The golden bough is needed to pass through Tartarus, the death of this life, to reach Elysian regions where the paternal ends resides in liberty.
Rational light is strongest, orients all life around its focus, constitutes reintegration of being. We're all drawn to our ideal star, light, magnet.
Needing to go beyond surface understanding, the literal, to find deeper spiritual truth within. That journey through symbolic death to a higher state.
What you find depends on how you look. Ontologically, you find what you seek, determined by the faculty used.
Selfish desires find their object in the lower spiritual atmosphere.
Different spiritual regions. First, ether natural, thoughts, passions. Pure ether, moral nature. Divine light region. High reason informed by love after purification.
The protean life is hard to discover. Its last subterfuge. Transforming into a tree, the golden bough. Before that, many forms created by the imaginative spirit.
No one enters into the Magian school, but he wanders a while in the region of chimeras.
Those chimeras must be destroyed to reach the simple hypostasis, the radix of reason.
Ether is universal extended matter, divine posit, life.
The metals of the philosophers are ethereal metals, representing ether's progressive stages, transformations.
The adept regards nature inwardly, feels all in himself.
The soul's angelic essence, a metallic humidity, its perfection, the Christian Philosopher's Stone. And in metalline perfection, the Philosopher's Stone, emphasizing inner perspectives, the different levels of reality accessed depending on your state. The elusive inner life needs deep introspection.
So the sum of the Hermetic mystery, the ultimate object.
The subtle analysis and pure synthesis of vital agencies and effects, seeking and finding the word of life, testified by neglected scriptures, and the Smaragdine tablet.
Back to the tablet.
Reiterating key lines, interconnectedness of above and below, all things from one, roles of sun, moon, wind.
Separate, subtle from gross with sagacity.
Its power ascends and descends, ending with the claim, I am called thrice great Hermes.
Bringing us back to the core principle.
And that personal account, witnessing a tiny bit of red medicine.
Transmuting a large quantity of base metal into gold, exceeding belief.
A powerful example of transformation potential, highlighting the tablet's enduring importance.
The alchemical agent is described as transforming itself into what it wills, co-equal to all diverse natures, universals.
Kuhnrath calls it the universal medium of restoration, preservation, expelling suffering, disease in all kingdom,
Rectifying metals, increasing vegetal spirit, benefiting animals.
reducing bodies to first matter, reanimating with universal form, advancing crystals to gems, liquefying metals, healing animals, refreshing vegetables,
Even burning perpetually when prepared right.
expelling evil spirits, enhancing natural healing, memory, prudence, joy, fortitude, miraculously affecting all natural production, sublunary spirits.
Paints a picture of an incredibly potent, versatile agent. Vast, multifaceted, transformative abilities beyond just metals healing and perfecting all of nature.
Figures like Chiron, the sage of pharmacy, are divinely honored.
Solomon advises honoring physicians created by the Lord.
Elmont describes the physician chosen by God. 3 gifts: compassion, truth, knowledge, charity, not seeking gain, promised blessings, healing power.
Contrasted with the decline of charity, separation of chirurgery from medicine due to ambition, gain, increased calamities, discrediting physicians.
Competence for great spiritual matters requires preparation, endowment by the Spirit. Holy, true, with the key of David opening and shutting, echoing Revelation.
Solomon's questions. Who can know God's counsel? Understand his will. Mortal thought is limited. Need divine wisdom, Holy Spirit.
Wisdom preserved the righteous throughout history. The first father, Noah, Abraham, Lot, guiding, delivering them.
Connecting alchemical healing with divine favor, spiritual purity, moral character.
In a critique of the contemporary worship of temporal utility.
And the dissatisfaction it brings.
Advocating looking within with abiding patience until conscience reveals higher pursuits, leading to purification, transformation into harmony and beauty.
Deuteronomy quoted, blessings of the good land from God, water, food, minerals. Urging remembrance, obedience, warning against forgetting, attributing wealth to self.
Immortality achieved through union, abandonment of the dual self to divine will. Jacob's self-renunciation.
The path of wise men, prophets. Discipline, purification to conform to divine perfection. Final step. Transcending separable selfhood into universal accord.
Urging that shift from external pursuits to inner spiritual work. Surrender to a higher will.
Then pondering, could alchemy be real? An experimental foundation of science despite skepticism.
Is there a subtle nature pervading the universe capable of artificial alteration?
Addressing the objection, things beyond our thought are irrelevant. Arguing unexpected benefits, not immediately discernible promises, are still real.
Ancient wisdom transcends but doesn't contradict human reason. Faith is common ground, witness to reality beyond present experience.
That latent power, felt instinctively everywhere, suggests focusing on this faith, transcendental experiences, can awaken reason to seek genuine reminiscence in its root of light.
Encouraging an open mind, exploring possibilities beyond current limits, considering the potential reality of these principles, a deeper, subtle dimension. So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really seen alchemy as so much richer than just turning lead into gold, haven't we?
Absolutely. It's this incredible blend, philosophy, spirituality, a deep quest to understand nature's secrets, and our own potential for inner transformation.
We've touched on purification, that cycle of solve at Coagula, breaking down, rebuilding.
The vital importance of inner work, yeah.
And all that symbolic language used to convey really complex spiritual ideas.
What really stands out for me is that recurring idea of a subtle nature within us and throughout the cosmos.
These ancient texts really invite you to think, don't they, about a deeper reality maybe waiting to be discovered, potential for change personal, maybe even material beyond our everyday grasp.
And maybe that's the real gold of alchemy.
Could be.
Not the metal, necessarily, but the wisdom gained through seeking, the insights into ourselves, how interconnected everything is.
Definitely gives you a lot to mull over. It certainly does. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.